6.
Count on LEX 18 News.
People in Estill County had to search down a river for miles to find the roof that blew off a building. The fierce storms left dozens of homes damaged as people hunkered down in Madison County. And we're getting a better idea of just how powerful the severe storm was when it ripped through a Scott County business.
LEX 18 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Christopher.
And I'm Nancy Cox. Thank you for joining us at 6. Homeowners, farmers, and workers are all busy trying to clean up the widespread storm damage in central Kentucky.
Everyone saw rain and lightning, but few people saw damage worse than what happened in Estill County. And that's where we begin our Storm Tracker team coverage. Meteorologist Seth Phillips joins us live from Irvine with a look at what those storms left behind. Seth?
Yeah, get this. Just 56 years ago, a confirmed F3 tornado struck in a very similar pattern and area to the storms that came through today. Now, many residents who were around at that time were here through this storm and have found some similarities and some differences. We spoke with a local veteran, Jerry Stacy, who told us about the damage to the roof of the American Legion Post 79 from today's storms, and compared it to the damage to that of the tornado in 1961, which he also lived through.
Wind just followed right up the river evidently after it come through the campground over here. Then it came through and hit the top of this, took all this roof and just took it right up river. Part of our roof was 2 miles up through there. This here had more wind and not near the water that the 61, because when it stopped over there, it stayed about 30 minutes right on the other side of the river, and you could just see it picking up water. The river actually dropped down some.
Now, although the storms and the threats from today have long passed, the residents of Estill County will be dealing with the aftermath for days, weeks, and even months to come. Live in Estill County from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom, back to you.
Thank you, Seth. A shelter has been opened at Estill Springs Elementary School, and the county asks that you hold off on any donations until they figure out exactly what they need.
As many people in Irvine wonder how they're going to rebuild from this storm, one couple is just thankful they survived. LEX 18's Evan Gorman talked with two people who said they had to hold on to each other so the wind wouldn't rip them apart.
Teresa Torpy tells me times have been tough.
Say we're in a spot where things are tight to start with.
The couple was at home this morning with their 2 dogs and a cat.
All of a sudden we heard a big kaboom. It sounded like a big bomb went off.
So they hunkered down in a hallway of their home on Broadway.
Yeah, this door was open. She was like that, and I was like this.
Not knowing what would come next.
Our siding went flying. You could see it on the dining room.
Their house was one of several in Irvine where the roof was ripped off.
Praying, yeah, I was praying that dear Lord just protect us.
Without homeowners insurance, a storm this size can be intimidating. For now, the two were told to stay off the second level. Down on the first floor, cracks and water leaks run down the wall.
And it's coming down that chandelier.
Although so much has been taken, Teresa says the two are thankful to still have each other.
We're okay, we're living.
Covering the news in Estill County, Evan Gorman, LEX 18 News.
Destructive winds thrashed 2 houses in Harrison County. Weather officials say it was straight-line winds that hit that area, and 2 people were hurt. LEX 18's Steve Butera is there with more.
Most of the damage from this morning's storms in Harrison County was focused on the community of Salem, just east of Cynthiana. You can take a look right over here toward my left. There is a house totally leveled from those straight-line winds from this morning. And then just a few hundred feet away, half of that roof of that house now gone. Thankfully, the family just left for work. Debris scattered all over and a new skylight courtesy of Mother Nature.
From the time I found out this morning, it was about maybe 8:30. People just started coming together. It didn't take long to get a massive outpouring of help down here.
A victim says he and his girlfriend were sleeping when the winds lifted the house, both of them under the debris. Again, you look at all the damage from this morning, and surprisingly only 2 injuries to report. Again, both of those injuries coming from that leveled house over there. Both of them are expected to be okay. One still at the hospital at last check. For now, we're covering the news in Harrison County from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom. Back to you.
The strong storms woke up many families at a Madison County mobile home park. More than 30 homes on Willow Lane were damaged. Some were left without roofs. LEX 18's Carolina Buchek is there with the latest on what happened and how they're trying to clean up.
Neighbors are now walking around just checking out all of this damage. On the ground, wood, shingles, parts of people's home just everywhere. Neighbors say it all happened so fast and it was so strong that these winds ripped off people's roofs and tossed them hundreds of yards away. Now, families say they never expect something like this to happen. Within minutes, trailers were shifting and things like siding and parts of people's roof were flying off. People took shelter wherever they could, but they say these winds were so strong they could barely move without being knocked down. One woman says her husband likely saved her life by catching a screen before it hit her.
When that door blew out, I thought we were going because I thought it was going over. I really thought it was going to turn over, but it didn't, thank goodness. But I think that's the scariest I've been in a long time.
Now we're seeing families walking around, checking through all of this debris, trying to find as much of their stuff as they possibly can, and they're packing it up into cars and heading home elsewhere to spend the night. Covering the news live in Madison County from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom, back to you.
The powerful winds peeled the roof off a horse barn near Anderson Dean Park in Mercer County, I should say. None of the animals was hurt, but that was hardly the only damage in Harrodsburg. The wind split trees and threw debris all over the area near Anderson Dean Park. So far, though, we've not been told of any injuries.
The National Weather Service confirmed it was straight-line winds that ripped apart a business in Scott County. The winds got up to 70 miles an hour when the storm hit. LEX 18's Patrick Price continues our Storm Tracker team coverage.
The majority of damage in Georgetown is in this industrial park off Triport Road. This is a building that's seen the most damage. You can see the walls of this building completely toppling over by very, very heavy winds. Thankfully, no one was injured. The building was unoccupied at the time of these storms overnight. Apparently, work inside had not yet begun, according to building owners. This building had 3 separate businesses inside, according to firefighters on the scene. And it's not the first time this building has suffered damage. Firefighters say years ago, during an ice storm, there was a collapse as well. Now, across the street, Truck Fridge, another business, had heavy damage inside of their showrooms. Apparently, a window was blown out, causing parts of the roof to blow off. Aside from the structural damage, everything else inside is salvageable.
I mean, as far as our building, it appears that some debris hit one of the main showroom windows. And when that occurred, the wind pressure inside the showroom just lifted the skylights and the ceiling right out. From that point, then the rain just came pouring in.
Firefighters on the scene earlier this morning say Industrial Drive, another street full of businesses, had damage to buildings as well. Now, back at the scene, the building has been taped off to make sure no one else goes inside until any type of inspector gets onto the scene to see how safe this structure is. Covering the news in Scott County from the LEX 18 mobile newsroom, back to you.
The storms did some damage in Lexington overnight, too. One of the worst hit places was the Masterson Station area on the north side. LEX 18's Connor McHugh was there with a look at the damage people are dealing with.
Nancy, this is how strong those winds were this morning when they ripped through Masterson Station. This was a fence that was standing upright like usual. It tore this down, it tore trees down. There's even a basketball hoop over there that was completely torn out of the ground, cement and all. And the thing is, a few miles away, there's even more damage. Now, some of the worst damage we saw today is just a few miles away at the UK Research Facility off Newtown Pike. There, the wind damaged 12 different barns, including this one. The university says most of that damage came from the first round of storms around 4 o'clock this morning. Now, hours later, you can see how powerful those winds were as debris from the barns is scattered for hundreds of yards around the property. Now, those are the same winds that came through here and caused plenty of damage in the Masterson Station area. Here's how neighbors described it.
It's wild. You know, the people, residents here lived through, something similar several years ago, and so it's just always a topic of conversation at school or at the park, why Masterson Station's hit hard, and, this morning's just another example of that.
Again, the National Weather Service determined that it was straight line winds and not a tornado that came through here. They say in the Masterson Station area it was probably around 60 miles per hour. Over near Newtown Pike it was 70 to 80. Around here the homeowners are just starting to get rebuilt, and that's what they'll be working on for the next few days. We're covering the news in Lexington from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom. Back to you.
Traffic is moving again after several semis that toppled over in the strong winds. Two went over on I-75 near the northern split in Lexington around 6:30 this morning. Police said their initial investigation points to the powerful winds pushing the big rigs over into a ditch. And further south on I-75, a camper got thrown off into a ditch around the 97-mile marker in Madison County. No one was hurt in those wrecks.
High-powered winds also whipped into Franklin County, even causing a tree to fall onto a mobile home with 2 people inside. LEX 18's Bonnie Campo has the story.
With 2 of their children inside.
But I didn't know that our little community here in Peaks Mill was going to be hit this hard.
Looking at this damage, the McDonald's are grateful. Grateful branches from this tree didn't break through the roof.
I just thank God that he was with our children and they're safe.
And as for neighbors, they say storms like this happen a lot in Peaks Mill.
There's another house down the street that's about the same as this one. It blew the deck roof off and blew it over the house.
Some even took cover overnight in a nearby barn.
We've been up all night. We have never been to bed.
Now, hopes of a much easier night ahead. Covering the news in Franklin County, Bonnie Campo, LEX 18 News.
Kind of recapping some of the stories you saw there at Peaks Mill, the top winds were estimated to be around 60 miles per hour by the Weather Service. When we saw the pictures from Harrodsburg, the Kentucky Mesonet site there in Mercer County measured a wind gust of 64 miles per hour. In Madison County, the Mesonet site, which is near Waco, measured a wind speed of 60 miles an hour. And you got to figure there are going to be stronger winds that just didn't hit that particular weather instrument. Strongest wind that we measured came out of the Fleming-Mason County Airport, southern Mason County there at around 70 miles per hour. Keeneland and Lexington had 55 mile per hour winds. Bourbon County Middle had a 52 mile per hour gust. In Richmond, Glenn Marshall Elementary School was right around 50. Damage reports, there were a lot of them. We had just under 100 covering our viewing area, and these generally were significant wind damage, more than just a stick down somewhere. You saw the roofs, you saw the buildings that were damaged by all these. Now as you go to the Max Track Live Doppler, we've got one final line of showers pushing to the southeast. That's the cold front. Once it's gone, that'll be the end of the rain. Well, they've rained for a while. We may be talking a little snow though, and we'll talk about when in a couple of minutes.
Bill Mack, thank you.
The first hit of severe spring weather hit even the farthest reaches of eastern Kentucky.
While we were just starting to assess damage, people farther east were having a time too. See how badly they were hit next on LEX 18 News at 6. A Breathitt County school had to be evacuated after storms rolled through and knocked out power there.
But the damage extended far beyond the school to homes all over the area. LEX 18's Joe Ducey has that story.
Downed power lines, roofs ripped right off. The storm was intense enough to pick this mobile home up and flip it on its side.
It was very, very windy. The rain was coming down hard.
More than 24 students, ages 3 through 5, and several teachers took shelter at a church after the storm prompted them to evacuate from their classroom next door a little after 9 o'clock.
We were already prepared this morning. We had our flashlights and all our information and stuff ready to go. We practice with the children all the time, so we make it so it's not scary, and it was an adventure for them.
Ann Wallace is a teacher at the Head Start program, and like many others in the area, her home was damaged.
I was scared to death, and I just seen that trailer over there going flying in the air, and it flipped, and then I seen this trailer, the roof crossed off here. I was freaking out.
People who live here say the storm came through with enough force to snap this utility pole as if it were a toothpick.
And it was sparking. It just snapped it in half. And when I come, the wind, it picked that up and just slung it over there.
While no injuries were reported,
heartbreaking and scary.
People say it's a reminder to always have an emergency plan in place.
What saves lives, it really does. You should always have a plan ready for any kind of weather.
Covering the news in Breathitt County, Joe Ducey, LEX 18 News.
And as we said, Estill County was one of the places hardest hit. I'm heading out there right now to continue our coverage throughout the evening.
Your Storm Tracker forecasts coming up next.
was the first significant severe weather outbreak of the spring weather season, really one of the bigger ones we've had in the last couple of years. We had nearly 100 wind damage reports across the area. You got to throw into that some of the hail that we saw as well. We were talking yesterday about moving our storm tracker threat index to a 2. Why do we even have this? It's really to help quantify the situation, to help make it more understandable what we're talking about, what we're expecting, and, well, bottom line, what the threat level is. So let's go and talk about it. The explainer for our number 2 here, which is what we were yesterday, we expect a more widespread and more significant severe weather situation. Almost every county saw at least some degree of damage. Significant, yeah, a lot of these are not just little trees down. These are talking roofs off of buildings and walls knocked down. I mean, this is some big deal stuff that we had come through. When you're looking at the higher levels, when you get to the 3, that's going to be a tornado outbreak. Not like we saw on March 2nd back in 2012. That's when we get to a 4. We may see a 4 once every 5 or 6 years. I mean, that's an extreme event. But the high level, hopefully we see it once, well, hopefully we see it never. But bottom line is that's a rare event as well. So 2 is a pretty high number for us. And again, you see significant showing up there. That's really what the 2 is. And it's a time to really pay attention, not just a little isolated storm potential, but again, widespread severe weather event. MaxTrack Live Doppler, the only live Doppler radar in central Kentucky, and with these fast-moving storms, was a key to being safe. Well, now showing just the last of the showers. This is along the real cold front now, going from Hindman to Hazard to Hyden, down to Barberville, and now south of Williamsburg and pushing east. Current wind gusts are in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range just about area wide. That's behind the front. Those are not thunderstorm related. That's just the ambient wind now as this system begins to pull away. Boy, what a tool to have last night, the Storm Tracker app. It's absolutely free. You get the MaxTrack Doppler on your phone. Watches and warnings also come on out to you. So again, a valuable resource to have. So what we're looking ahead to tomorrow. It's a normal day. It's just going to feel cold. How about Friday morning? A few snowflakes may be flying around the area. But the weekend, we already start the next warm-up. Welcome to spring. Welcome to 2 a.m. in the morning. We were watching that cluster of thunderstorms coming out of southwest Kentucky. It was a tornadic producer, at least warning producer, when it was coming out of southwest Kentucky. So keep an eye on that cell. We get you to 3:30 in the morning. You're seeing the cells breaking out now in Scott County where wind damage was occurring, and then back to the south and west of it. By the time we get you to 4 a.m., you're looking at potential severe weather going across parts of the area and strong thunderstorms in Mason County. We saw another batch come through Harrison County. That was around 5 a.m. Then the main squall line was assembling at 6:15. You see that bowing right there. That was a sign that there was going to be damaging winds with this as it came southward. You also notice that little kink right in there. That's a sign that there was shear available for these storms. That's what helped propel the winds in Estill County and parts of eastern Kentucky. And then finally the whole thing cleared on out. We saw the storm departing off to the east and away. We're watching this little clipper coming in. Why? Because as we get you to Thursday night and Friday morning, the potential is there. We could see a little bit of snow with that. So your forecast for tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, cold, down to the low 30s, but a calm night. Early sunshine tomorrow, partly sunny in the afternoon, highs in the upper 40s. Friday, again, some snow showers cannot be ruled out. You're looking at a high of only around 40. We're back up around 50 on Saturday and around 60 by Sunday, when lawnmowers may begin to start around the area.
Yeah, we might hear them before that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barry. We've been telling you about a life-saving app for teenage drivers. LEX 18's Michael Burke put together the story for today, but our Storm Tracker coverage has pushed it back. So tomorrow, make sure you're with us when you can find out more about the app that can keep you more focused and safer on the road. That'll be right here on LEX 18 News at 6. We'll be right back.
It's like one of your sons is getting married. And I started getting teared up, and I caught myself a little bit, but he told the team before he was doing it, and they gave him like a standing O and hugged him in the locker room. And how about the 3 he made?
UK made a great comeback on senior day to beat Vandy, but to top it all off, Derek Willis proposed to his girlfriend Keely Potts. Oh, what a night. Alan Cutler has more.
For those of you that are married, do you remember where it happened? For me, I asked my wife to marry me by a lake on the side of a mountain. I thought it was special. This was off the charts. How about having the guts to ask your girlfriend to marry you in front of, oh, let's say 24,000 plus? And Derek Willis was very sure that Keely Potts was going to say yes.
best friend, and went through a lot of ups and downs, and a lot more downs than ups, and she helped me through all that stuff, so I can never repay her for that. And that's just part of what I wanted to give to her this night, some special moment. And she's big into surprises and stuff. So
he's my best friend too. If I had to pick someone right now to be my maid of honor, it would probably be him. So I can't really do that now, but I don't know.
It doesn't get much better than both parties saying, "You're my best friend." Oh, and by the way, Cats come back for the best comeback for Cal on Senior Day. Alan Cutler, LEX 18 Sports.
And LEX 18 News. We'll be right back.
And now to nightly news.